If, like most of the leaders today, you are struggling with how to rethink your organization and your leadership approach in order to adapt faster to the continuous change in the business environment, you better watch this video till the end. I will introduce the 7-step model to an agile transformation that will advance your thinking and will provide you with useful insights. I have developed this short course in order to respond to all the people in my LinkedIn networks who ask me great questions about agile transformation and leadership agility. And I want to give a great answer to them. An answer that allows them to grasp all the value of this approach. So follow me in this journey through the 7th step of an agile transformation. So before we get into the single steps of the agile transformation model, I would like to introduce the objective of this course. And this objective of this course is to explain how we can move from a bureaucratic organization that basically is working with the old model of command and control. It's rigid, it cannot adapt fast to the changing business environment, and progressively is losing competitiveness for this. We move toward an organization that instead is agile, meaning is able to better perform in complex environment, in fast-changing environment. And the concept I'm going to introduce also during this course, this short course, is the concept of continuous adaptability. That basically means that with this transformation, we are trying to build into the organization some automatic mechanism in a way that we don't need to change continuously when the business environment outside change, but thanks to this automatic mechanism, the organization can adapt to what's happening outside without specific, large and important and intervention that usually create more problem than advantage. So let's see what I mean with continuous adaptability. And to explain this concept, I would like to introduce a similitude. And what I would like you to focus in is the difference between a manual gear, okay, and an automatic one. In the manual gear, we have to continuously introduce change. So we have to continuously change the gear to adapt to the situation of the road. So it's going to be, I don't know, the traffic is going slower, there is an uphill, it's downhill. So in continuous, we have to act and implement some change in order to adapt to the situation. In the automatic gear, instead, what we do, once we have set the kind of command, the initial command, we don't have to make any more kind of adaptation. We don't make any change, because in the automatic gear are built some mechanisms that help the car adapt to the kind of road situation. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do. As an automatic gear has built automatic mechanism that help to adapt quickly and faster without any intervention from the driver. That's what we are trying to do with the organization, trying to build mechanisms that will allow the companies to adapt to any new situation. So let's get into the 7-step agile transformation model. Here you have an overview of the 7 steps that we're going to go through. We're going to go a step at a time. And the idea is always the same, through this 7 step to move from a bureaucratic organization to an agile organization able to adapt faster and perform better in fast-changing business environment. So the first step of the agile transformation model is a very important one, is the kind of preparation for the entire transformation journey. In this step, the executive team and the key leaders of the organization must acquire inadequate knowledge about what does it mean an agile transformation. In most cases, this kind of lack of in-depth knowledge is one of the major block for improving the agility of the organization. And the second objective of this step one is also to build a shared terminology. Words like agile, change, transformation are kind of buzzword, and each one imagine in executive team, each one of the members probably has a different kind of take about the meaning of these words. So it's really difficult to imagine a constructive and effective kind of discussion when there is no shared terminology. So that's why in this step we have to acquire both knowledge and a shared terminology to be effective in the rest of the journey. So in step two, after that the executive teams and the key leaders have acquired adequate knowledge and they have built a shared terminology that allows them to discuss the topic and take decision. And once the decision has been taken to advance, with all the question marks, with all the doubts, is the moment to, in the step two, start experimenting with few agile teams. So the executive team will come up with a few options to where position 2 or 3 agile teams in the organization. Probably where they are going to be more interesting to study, to monitor, okay? And the objective is this step two is really to measure kind of advantage, of course, having these agile teams in this specific area department. And the second objective is to spot any kind of limitation, bottlenecks, friction in the interaction between the agile teams and the rest of the organization. So in step three, based on the experience collected during the step two when we have experimented with few agile teams, is now the time to go broader, to increase the number of agile teams, maybe involving other part of the organization, other department, maybe involving different business unit, or maybe just one country. This is up to the organization, but the idea, of course, is to improve the number, to collect even more feedback, even more kind of experience on how to introduce these agile teams in the organization. In this part, clearly, is important to monitor what kind of additional problem we have when we move from just few agile that are easily kind of managed because they are in very small number. When we move to, I don't know, 20 or 30 agile teams, the impact and the friction with the rest of the organization are going to definitely increase. So this is kind of improving our knowledge, our learning about the difficulty and we're going to face when we extend farther the number of agile teams. At the same time, we're going to learn more about what are the advantage that the new agile team, the broader number of agile teams can bring to the organization. In step four, we start taking care of one of the most important obstacle to any change program. The agile transformation is not an exception, is the culture. If we want to be successful in reaching the objective on agile transformation, we have to work as soon as possible on the evolution of the culture. We have to spread a more agile culture throughout the entire organization. Now we move to the step 5, and this is one of the most important one. And this is where the executive team and the key leaders start operating as an agile team. So we are talking here about the example that must be given by the executive team, the top leadership, to the rest of the organization. And this marks a difference versus the other kind of change management program where the role of the executive team is usually of sponsor, meaning that once the change organization or organizational change program is decided, the executive team delegates to a lower level of leadership. In this case, instead, they have to role model the change, so meaning they have to start themselves operating as an agile teams. This gives the clear signal to the organization that the agile transformation is serious, that the agile transformation is one of the priority of the top management. And this is proved by so many research and all the studies that have been done about successful agile transformation. In step 6 is time to leverage all the learning we have gathered during the step 2 and step 3, where we have introduced, first of all, experimented with few agile teams and then scaled the number of agile teams. As we said before, we have monitored their evolution, and we have learned from all the friction, obstacles, misunderstanding happening between these agile teams and the rest of the organization. They're still working in the old traditional way. So based on this learning, we have a clear picture of what kind of modification we need to reduce this kind of friction and this kind of inefficiency. And that's why we have to adapt, modify some of the elements like structure, process, and system in a way that the new way of operating support this evolution toward agility. So let's make a very simple example. Once we operate, part of the company is operating with agile teams where the collaboration inside the team is fundamental, and maybe we have at company level, we have an assessment approach that favor and reward the individual performance. But of course, if we work more and more in terms of teams, and that of course need team collaboration, we cannot continue to have this kind of rewarding system that reward mostly the individual performance. So we have to change the rewarding system in a way that now are the team collaboration and team performance that are rewarded more than the individual one. So before we move to the step 7 of the agile transformation model, it's important to explain that even a fully agile company, what we could define a fully agile company that has completed the agile transformation journey, also in this case, just a relatively small part of the employees will work inside agile teams. So it's going to depend a lot from the sectors the organization operates in. Of course, technology company might have more agile teams because for them is a more logic and functional way of working. But let's say for not tech company, maybe 15-20% of the people, of the employees, will work inside agile teams. So the rest of the organization, the 80% of people that are not working in the agile teams, they still working with the traditional model of management. So the problematic now is to avoid to create two companies in one company. One part that could be the agile one, that made of people that works in agile teams, and the other part is the 80% that still work in a traditional way. And the risk is that these two parts, of course, don't work together and create more friction than opportunity. So this is where the agile mindset, the agile culture steps in. Because the agile culture, the agile mindset is going to be the bridge between these two parts of the organization in a way that they work as one. So at the end of the 7-step agile transformation model, we will have achieved our goal. That is to transform our organization from a bureaucratic one, rigid, unable to compete because is unable to adapt quick enough to the change happening in the business environment, to an agile organization that instead is performing better because it can constantly adapt its operating model to any new challenge in the marketplace. So we have done this, introducing what we have seen at the beginning, so this kind of continuous adaptability, building this sort of automatic mechanism inside the organization that allowed it to adapt to any new challenge in the business environment. But before we close, certainly we have to stress that this process of transformation, even if we have established this kind of automatic mechanism, never reach a kind of end. It's a continuous, iterative process, because there always been the necessity to fine-tune the culture, to fine-tune the process, the system, the structure. This is a continuous process. But the good things about an agile transformation is that once we have changed the major part of it, every new adaptation is going to be limited. It's going to be kind of fine-tuning of the big transformation we have done before. I hope you have found this short course useful. And if you want to know more about agile transformation and agile leadership, don't hesitate, get in touch with me, click on the link, and I will be very happy to share with you more information. Thank you very much for your attention, and goodbye.